All right, guys. Good afternoon. Thanks for coming. Recap of Saturday's game, MVPs from the game. Dan Bolden on defense, very efficient game, start to finish, very physical play, aiding a very good defensive performance, which I think, stopping a really good rushing attack there, especially once, the backup quarterback played the entire game. He's a real running threat, and to be able to get him on the ground consistently. And, the running back there, Cooper, had a really good game against us last year, and he was at Kent. So I thought maybe being able to neutralize that running game would be key to getting a victory, and those guys did a great job on defense. And a lot of other guys had really good games too, and Max and Hook had an exceptional game as well. But Dan was our point leader, and I thought very consistent all the way through. Offensively, Penny Boone had a great game again. I think the fifth game in a row, over 100 yards rushing. Tough weather day, which there was going to be some grinded out yards that had to be gained, and really good, in some tough moments there. Almost 100 yards rushing individually by him in the fourth quarter alone. And then on special teams, Luke Pollock, excellent performance. Mike Denning still not being able to handle the kicking duty, still out. Luke still having a full plate with that and being able to handle the place kicking responsibilities, making 2 field goals in a tough rainy situation, I thought was key, and obviously ended up being the difference in the game. So I'm proud of those guys, proud of our team. Got to hit the road this week, play a good Miami team, getting good quarterback play from their starter, who's a veteran guy. Very good defensive team led by a really good front. Team that communicates at a really high level on both sides of the football, and they got a field goal kicker that hasn't missed, and he's a real weapon. So it's a complete team, a team that's very well coached, and program obviously we got a lot of respect for, and we'll have to be at our best to go on the road to get a victory. So that being said, I'll take your questions.
You mentioned both teams' kickers there. As you get into the meat of the schedule and special teams kind of magnified in games that are closer, I don't know, what kind of a weapon do you think Luke is? Is he a little bit of a security blanket for the
Well, I mean, we're playing football here in Northwest Ohio. We're not in South Florida, so weather from here on out will be unpredictable, and the skill set of those guys obviously changes from week to week because of the elements. But to be able to have a solid performance like that and a tough weather day obviously gives you confidence moving forward, and he's done everything we've asked him to do. If you go back to the Eastern Michigan game last year to all the way through this season, he's been reliable, he's been consistent, and he's a guy that has a really firm process. He works really hard to get himself in the right mindset to play each and every week, and we're going to need him down the stretch to be great.
How, no disrespect to previous opponents, but the schedule's really beefy up here the next few weeks. This week, 2 one-loss teams. It's probably the first time this late in the season Mac had a matchup like that. Do you notice an energy when you get to late October, November in the building of games that
yeah.
define season?
I think the beginning of the year, everybody's excited to play. Everybody's excited to start and get their season off and to a right foot, and get to find out who their team is and what that's going to look like. And everybody's got a lot of confidence going into that part of the year that they're going to have a good season. You take your lumps, you take your bruises through the month of September. Some teams they fold and they fade away, and in early October it kind of starts to separate, and you get to late October. This is big separation time, and you always talk about winning championships in late November and early December. Well, those games happen then, but the stretch run through the month of October sets the table for all that. So, and this is another week of that. You go this third road game in a row that we have, and got to handle the trip, and got to go down and play a really good team.
This scheduling quirk with Miami is very bizarre, obviously. I know you probably watch other teams play them, previous years that were on your schedule, but because it's been so long that you've played them, do you feel very unfamiliar with their personnel? Yeah,
we recruited some of these guys that we're going to play against, so you know a little bit about them that way. But, yeah, there is a level of uncertainty to a certain extent, I guess, is the best way to put it. We've played Ohio State more in my time here than we've played Miami of Ohio, which is crazy. But don't make the schedule and don't want to. So we'll play the ones we're given, and wherever they're at, we'll go play them. So, but a good team, and a team that, like I said, will present a lot of challenges for us.
And looking at Brett Gabbert, what are some things you're focusing on defensively to kind of contain him a little bit? Yeah,
I think he's very consistent. You know what I mean? He's got a lot of starts under his belt. He's comfortable in who he is. He does a good job leading their team. He's created a lot of explosive plays in the passing game, throughout the early part of this season. And he, got in the end zone a few times the last couple of weeks here with his legs too. So, he's going to play efficient. He's not going to screw it up. He's not going to give you the ball a bunch of times, and you gotta go try to do the best job you can to disrupt his rhythm and timing and have a good plan to stop.
to kind of piggyback, obviously not having seen this team in a few years, is the emphasis this week on preparation more on film, and how much of importance is kind of getting them on film, watching them on film, preparation-wise?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, each and every week you have the video that's available to you, and you do a good job trying to dissect it and build a plan based off of what you see. And now every team, every season is different. Week to week, things change. The personnel's different due to injuries, and at this point in the year, then you got to do a good job of preparing for what you think you're going to get. Last weekend we had to prepare for 2 quarterbacks. We weren't sure what we were going to get. So, maybe a little bit easier that way in the sense of we know who the starter is. We know, we have exactly what we're going to see and what we're going to be able to watch, maybe in comparison to last week. But all the weeks are the same.
And it's more of a curious thing. Obviously, going back to Saturday, you mentioned the weather. Just how much of it, preparing going into it knowing it's going to rain, but also kind of going in game, just how you have to adapt to what conditions you're playing in?
Yeah, it's part of it. I hope we don't play a game in the snow, but I'm sure we'll have one of those at some point in time too. You know what I mean? It's just how it works itself out, and you're starting to get Tuesday, Wednesday games coming up, and those are they're not played during the day, so the sun's never out for those. And you're in the middle of the week, you don't know really what your schedule, your routine is reset, recalibrated, but you got to do the best job you can as a team and as a staff and as an organization to prepare for whatever the elements may be and whatever situations may occur.
Miami they're way up there in sacks nationally, pass breakups. They've got one of the leading tacklers. Or like all 11 guys on offense, like their assignment, like magnified. You can go against a team of that caliber.
Yeah, they're good. They're good defense. It is what it is. They got good personnel. They're good schematically. They have good coaches. They, they got a good front, and they don't. Their second level is in unison with the front, and where there's maybe holes, they got good enough players on the back end to supplement and to erase some of the problems and some of the mistakes. So, that's a formula that we understand because that's how we play defense too. So, you have to be an 11-man unit. You have to play in unison. You have to play team defense, and the production that you're mentioning has been a product of them playing sound.
Everyone knows Quinyon. He was an All-American last year, so he doesn't really go unnoticed. And then Max and Hook, great player in the secondary. But R.J. Delancey, he doesn't play as many snaps necessarily as those guys, but he seemed to have made a decent amount of plays this year. Just how important do you think he is to your operation?
Yeah, he's been highly productive in his time on the field. You know what I mean? Whether that's, playing nickel, playing corner, playing in the kicking game. He's a problem covering kicks. You have to account for that guy. He's very football savvy, if that makes any sense. I don't. He just kind of has a knack for finding the football and being around the ball. So he's critically important to us. And obviously, he's the first play of the game happens at corner. He's not out there, but I don't know if there's any other team in the league that would be the case. You know what I mean? We got 2 good corners, and he's really 3 really good corners, and he's the next guy in. And but his skill set is he's a physical tackler. He can play the ball, and he can play man. And any good DB, you have to have those 3 things in your resume, and he certainly does. And like I said, the impact he's made on the kicking game, especially the last couple of weeks, has been as impactful as anybody on our team.
Not to really throw away your game plan or anything, but obviously with how well your defense is playing, does that kind of help you kind of be more aggressive on offense? I know obviously you guys are aggressive for the most part, but just how they're playing, just how does that kind of help with your play calling?
Yeah, obviously they had a great game on Saturday, and I think obviously a stiff challenger. Like I said, when anytime the team that your opponent can supplement their rushing attack with good quarterback runs, it makes for it's the ultimate neutralizer. You can't gang up on them, and so every guy had to do their responsibility at a high level and do their job and be in their gap and be in the right place, and they did that consistently for all 60 minutes. And it's really hard to hold another team without a touchdown in college football. I don't care what level it is. You know what I mean? So tremendous defensive performance, good plan, great execution by the players, and great buy-in by the whole group to get a win.